let's make 10 cards today, and I have the April card kit here with me. So this is smelling like spring, and I'm starting with a stamp set. Let's take a look on what's included in the kit. You will find lots of flower compositions, butterflies, and many sentiments to play with. And the fun part is that in this kit there are 2 stencils included that match the designs of the stamp set. You will find both the butterflies as well as the flower compositions. There are also marked with a number which is engraved on the stencil, so you can easily locate what goes where. So you see how lovely they fit on top, which is going to give you a really easy way to color everything just with your inks. Now for today I'm going to create 10 cards. I'm not going to use the stamp set because I know you find lots of inspiration from other designers. I will use the stamp set mainly only for the sentiments. And I will focus on the rest of the products, you will see. So you do get 30 of those collage papers by Team Holtz. Yes, there are 30 of them included, and lots of designs. I will show you how I like to use those in one of the short videos that I will be uploading later today. So check that out as well. I'm going to combine that with distress crayons. Anyway, I'm going to put those aside. I won't be using those for my cards today. And let's take a look on the pattern paper. 6 pattern papers, 6 by 6 in size. They are double-sided, and I absolutely love the look and feel of them. Really smells like spring with yellows, a touch of green, and lots of flowers, even bees. I will be using all of those pattern papers today on my cards, so get ready to have only scraps. Now you also get 6 rolls of washi tape, and I will show you ways on how you can use those in your cards. You will find that some of them are focused on red, like this one for example. I call this red one. You will find a yellow one, an orange, a green one. So it is easy to create kind of a rainbow effect on your cards, and also you can use them to create your own pattern papers. I will show you what I mean. Then you do get texture paste and collage medium, so you can use those as well. And 2 colors of cardstock, a yellow and a white one. So let's start with creating our 10 cards for today. And as always, I'm going to focus on the pattern paper, and one of my go-to techniques is to get one of my rectangular panels and just move it around on the pattern paper to pick the images that I like. So I'm just going to run it through my die cutting machine, and then I'm going to pick a sentiment. There are plenty of those to choose from, and there is enough space at the top where I can stamp the sentiment. I'm using my stamping platform. This is the Stampwheel by Altenew, and I'm making sure that this is nice and straight. I'm going to stamp it with intense black ink by SimonSaysStamp, perfect for stamping sentiments. I do stamping of the sentiments a couple of times also to get a good impression, although I don't show it on videos every time. And now to make this simple card really looking more interesting, I'm going to add some thread. So I grabbed a green one that I had in my stash. I think that yellow would match perfectly with the colors as well. I'm just going to wrap it around 3 or 4 times and then just tie a bow. I do have foam squares at the back, and I'm going to stick it on top of a yellow panel. This brings the yellow of the flowers even more. And just to make it more interesting, I like to add some pop-up elements. So I will be using this pattern paper to fuzzy cut butterflies for many of the cards. I'm just going to keep it handy and just fuzzy cut whenever I need to stick something. So for this card I cut out one. I'm going to finish it off by adding some gems on top of the flowers here and there, one on top of the butterfly, just to make it look more interesting. Always when I share 10 cards on one video, I make sure that the cards are very easy to put together, but at the same time they always look nice. You don't really have to go complicated when it comes to mass producing cards. So now for this pattern paper, I have two areas of interest. One is at the bottom corner where you can see all the foliage and the yellow flowers. And then at the top you do get 3 butterflies. So out of this pattern paper I'm going to create a card which is going to have dimensional elements. I'm cutting out this panel to be slightly smaller so you see it gives me a frame. With the magic of video editing, I did do the fuzzy cutting of the butterflies, and I wish it was so quick and easy. I'm going to stick the butterflies as well as that panel that I cut out using foam squares at the back, so I do have dimension. And I like the butterflies to go outside of the frame, as you can see. I think it gives more life to the card. And all that's left to do is to add a sentiment. I'm going to use the one that says with sympathy. Again, I just stamp that with black ink, cut it out with my paper trimmer, and I'm going to finish it off by adding some white dots with my white contour liner. There are many flowers here where you can add the dots, which makes the card look more interesting. And here are some close-up photos on the second card. In my one kit 10 cards videos, I usually add shaker cards because I absolutely love them. They are so interactive and fun. So in the latest videos I forgot to make some shaker cards, so let's make one today. For that you need circle dies, one to cut out the window on the panel, and this is where I am adding at the back some double-sided tape all around that circle window. I'm going to peel off the backing and then stick my acetate there to make sure that it is nicely stuck down and nothing is going to fall off through the window. And then you need another circle die or just cut out any scrap piece of pattern paper to add on top. So I am going to use some double-sided foam tape, and I have those strips by Waffle flower. If you peel off the backing, they are really easy to manipulate, and as you can see they go all around the circle with no problem. Add some of your confetti inside or sequins, whatever you have, and then add the second circle on top of the window. This is going to trap the shaker elements inside, and you have a lovely interactive card. Now I do have some space at the bottom where I'm stamping my sentiment, and I went with Thinking of You, again from the stamp set that was included in the kit, and you can definitely stop here, or if you want to add an element of fun, you can add one of the butterflies as if it is coming out of that shaker window. And here are some close-up photos on the card. Let's move on another pattern paper, and you can see this pattern paper has two banners. You can cut it in half and you can recreate the same card twice if you want. Or you can use the second panel for another card, or even use it to fuzzy cut flowers. So I'm going to show you what I did with one of those two panels. So all I'm doing is stamping a sentiment, and I went with Missing You this time. Plenty of space to stamp any of the sentiments included in the kit. Now, since this is a shorter panel than my actual card, I want to have kind of borders on each side. That's why I'm placing it on top of yellow cardstock, and I'm leaving like 1/8 of an inch on each side. This is frames the panel, and it looks more finished. If you want to save on cardstock, you can definitely cut out a couple of strips and stick them on top and at the bottom. To finish off the card, I'm just adding one of those fuzzy cutted butterflies to add some dimension, and a few of the dots with my contour liner. You can substitute that with gems, with pearls, whatever you have, sequins. Just add some shine there if you want. And here are some close-up photos. Moving on to the next card, and for this one I'm going for a full-on panel shaker card. So I'm using this pattern paper to cut out a panel that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, exactly the same size as a card base. You can definitely do that with one of your rectangle dies. Then I do have those acetate pieces that create panels for shaker cards. Now, if you don't have those, just use one of those packaging acetates that you have from stamps, from stencils. You can place your panel inside, add the confetti, and then just wrap around the excess. It's going to work just fine. Now, since I do have the other product, I'm going to use that just because it is thicker. The acetate is thicker and it holds its shape. So all you need to do is to just peel off the top to make it nice and clear, and then there is also already adhesive on the sides, so all you have to do is to just fold them, place the panel inside, wrap the 3 sides, and then you have the top which is open. This is going to allow you to add any shaker elements that you like inside. And this is a great way to use panels that give you lots of scenes. They are beautiful. You don't know what to do with those pattern papers. Just turn them into shaker cards, add a sentiment on top, and you are good to go. Now, for sentiment, you can definitely use one from the stamp set, or you can use any die-cut sentiment that you have in your stash. Here I'm using the thank you die, and I like that it gives me an outline as well. I'm going to cut both these pieces using pattern paper so it matches perfectly with the colors on my panel. And I'm just going to stick it in place. And at this stage, all you have to do is to just stick this whole panel on top of a standard card that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And you can see here some close-up photos on this shaker card. Now, many times in our kits, we do have those pattern papers that give you lots and lots of images, like this one. Now, I'm going to separate all of them, and I'm going to show you a couple of ideas on how you can use those and turn them into cards. So one way is to create panels with windows, where you can place those little squares at the back. If you don't have such a die, you can definitely just cut out a strip, a panel of white cardstock, and use either circles or squares if you have, or even stars, whatever die you have, to create little windows, just one underneath the other. I'm just going to use the die that I already have because it makes my life easy, but you can easily recreate the same look. So I do have foam squares at the back, and I'm just going to stick those little squares. For this card, I'm going to use 3 of the squares. So I have plenty of them to either recreate the same idea or just create a completely different card, which I'm going to show you in a bit. So I do have a panel there. Now all I need to do is to create the background. For the background, I'm going to use one of the 3D embossing folders that I have in my stash. If you are a subscriber of the SimonSaysStamp Card Kit, you already have lots of those panels. They keep on giving us many 3D embossing folders. So I'm using one that has a very generic design and matches pretty much every design. I'm using an ink pad. This is white pigment ink by SimonSaysStamp, and I'm very lightly rubbing it over. It's going to pick the color only on the mountains of the embossing, and it's going to bring it more to life. Now you need to be very careful at this stage because the ink takes a lot of time for the ink to dry and you don't want to have any smudges. Just stick that on top, and then I did fuzzy cut from one of the scrap pieces of pattern paper that I had. These leaves as well as the flower, and I'm going to stick them at the bottom just to embellish it, to make it look more interesting, to add some dimension. Again, I'm adding interest with my contour liner, and let's add some dots again. You can substitute that with gems, with enamel dots, just use whatever you have. And this is going to finish off the card. Just add a sentiment at the bottom. I went with "for you." And now let me show you one more way to create super easy cards with those little squares. Just arrange them. You can make different grids with them depending on how many you have. I am going with 4 of them, and you can add a sentiment or just stamp something underneath. You can embellish it with gems, enamels, sequins, whatever you like. And these are all the scraps that I have left over from the pattern paper included in the kit. Now I'm going to show you ideas on how you can use the washi tapes. Now you can combine any of them, they match beautifully together. I'm going to create my own pattern paper using 3 of them here. I'm going to say that I'm using the pink, the yellow and the green one, and just add them one beneath the other in a row to create your very own pattern paper. Wrap it around or tear off the excess. Don't throw anything away, you can definitely use it on another card. Stamp a sentiment at the top, and you have a really quick and easy card that you can definitely easily recreate and personalize it by changing the sentiments. Now I always like to separate somehow the pattern papers, the designs from the white panel. So for that I just cut out a piece of yellow from the scraps of my pattern paper, and I'm just going to stick it there. You can embellish it again with gems, with enamel dots. I'm just adding a pink heart here that I had in my stash. Stick it on top of your card base and you are good to go. Easy, and you can recreate this card with the washi tape that you have. We have 6 full rolls, so you can do that design again and again. As well as the design that I'm showing you here, again I have a panel which I'm going to cover fully with washi tape, creating again my very own pattern paper. I used foam squares at the back to stick it out, and now this gives you a great place to add a cutout sentiment and any of the dies that you have in your stash. Just browse through them and find either a big sentiment to stick on top or even a big design. I'm sure you all have big designs that you can stick. Now just because the background is so busy, you need to make sure that you stick something on top which is monochromatic. You can either go with yellow, you can go with white, you can go with black, something that is going to stand out. Here I'm using this branch and I added a sentiment underneath. Again, you can just use a big cutout sentiment for this type of cards. Now another way that you can use the washi tape is to create a negative space on a panel. Here I used a butterfly die. Just look through your stars. You can even use a circle, you can use a star, any solid big design. I'm sure you all have a butterfly die somewhere in your stars that you can create a negative space, and then at the back you are going to create your very own pattern paper again, just like we did previously. I'm just going to stick one under the other. And here I'm not even switching between washi tapes. I just used the yellow one to cover it up completely. And then I'm just going to stamp my sentiment, and I went with Missing You for this card. And with foam squares I'm going to stick this panel on top of the one that I have created. And you can see through the beautiful design of the washi tape. So these were all the 10 cards for today. I hope that you had fun, that you got inspired. Links to everything I used can be found down below in the description, just like always. Don't forget to like and comment. Thank you all so much for joining me today, and I'll see you all next time.